MotoGP is a sport where races are often decided by fractions of a second. Riders spend 40 minutes pushing themselves and their machines to the absolute limit, only for everything to come down to a single corner on the final lap. In a championship where the difference between victory and defeat can be less than the blink of an eye, the last lap has produced some of the most unforgettable moments in motorsport history. For fans, there is nothing more exciting than watching two riders battle wheel to wheel as the checkered flag approaches. The tension becomes unbearable. Every braking zone matters. Every mistake becomes fatal. Every overtake could be the winning move. Over the years, MotoGP has delivered last-lap finishes so dramatic that they still leave fans speechless today. Moments where legends were created, rivalries exploded, and history changed forever. These are the craziest last-lap finishes in MotoGP history. One of the most iconic finishes came at the 2009 Catalan Grand Prix. By this point, the rivalry between Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo had already become one of the biggest stories in motorsport. They rode for the same team, shared the same garage, and were both fighting for the championship. But friendship had long disappeared. For the entire race, Rossi and Lorenzo exchanged positions repeatedly. Neither rider could break away. Neither rider was willing to settle for second place. As they began the final lap, the tension was almost unbearable. Lorenzo appeared to have done enough. He defended aggressively and positioned his Yamaha perfectly through the final corners. The victory seemed secure. Then, Rossi did something almost impossible, approaching the final corner. He launched his bike down the inside from an angle that looked completely unrealistic. For a brief moment, it seemed certain he would run wide. Instead, Rossi somehow made the corner. Lorenzo had no answer. Rossi crossed the finish line first by just a fraction of a second, instantly creating one of the greatest overtakes MotoGP had ever seen. Even today, many fans consider it the greatest last corner pass in the history of the sport. But if Rossi's move was brilliant, another finish years later would become even more controversial. The 2015 Dutch TT at Assen was already a classic before the final lap even began. Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez had spent the entire race fighting aggressively for every inch of track. Every corner became a battle. Every overtake carried risk. As they entered the final lap, neither rider was willing to back down. The fight reached its climax at the final chicane. Marquez attacked. Rossi defended. The two motorcycles came dangerously close as they entered the corner together. Then Rossi ran wide across the asphalt runoff area. Many expected him to lose the position. Instead, he rejoined and crossed the finish line in first place. Immediately, controversy exploded. Marquez argued Rossi had left the track. Others believed Rossi was forced wide during the battle. Fans debated the incident for years. Regardless of opinion, one thing was certain. The finish was unforgettable. Some last lap battles become famous because of controversy. Others become famous because they seem physically impossible. That was exactly the case during the 2018 Austrian Grand Prix. Marc Marquez and Andrea Dovizioso entered the final lap separated by almost nothing. The Red Bull Ring had become known for producing incredible battles between the two riders. Every year, they seemed to find themselves fighting for victory. This race was no different. Marquez attacked. Dovizioso responded. Marquez attacked again. The lead changed repeatedly within a matter of corners. As they approached the final braking zone, everyone knew what was coming. Marquez attempted his trademark late braking move. Normally, it worked. This time, Dovizioso was ready. He cut back underneath Marquez, accelerated perfectly out of the corner, and won the race by the smallest of margins. The crowd erupted. Commentators screamed. Fans instantly recognized they had witnessed another MotoGP masterpiece. Yet perhaps the most dramatic finish involving Dovizioso came 1 year earlier. At the 2017 Austrian Grand Prix, Dovizioso and Marquez produced another unforgettable duel. For lap after lap, neither rider could gain an advantage. The race transformed into a chess match played at over 200 miles per hour. Each rider studied the other. Each rider searched for weakness. Each rider waited for the perfect moment. The final lap finally delivered it. Marquez attacked aggressively into the final corners. Dovizioso refused to surrender. The two riders entered the final sector side by side. At times, it looked as though they might collide. Instead, Dovizioso executed a perfect final corner exit and crossed the finish line first. The difference was microscopic. The excitement was enormous. Many fans still rank the battle among the greatest finishes ever witnessed in MotoGP. Of course, no discussion about last lap drama would be complete without mentioning Phillip Island. The Australian circuit has a reputation for creating chaos. Fast corners, constant overtaking, unpredictable conditions. It is a recipe for unforgettable racing. One of the best examples came in 2015. Marc Marquez, Jorge Lorenzo, Andrea Iannone and Valentino Rossi were locked together in an incredible fight. The lead changed constantly. Every lap produced new drama. Nobody could predict the winner. As the final lap began, 4 riders still had a realistic chance of victory. The battle became absolute madness. Overtakes happened almost every corner. Positions changed repeatedly. The crowd barely had time to react before another pass occurred. In the end, Marquez emerged victorious. But the real winner was MotoGP itself. The race demonstrated exactly why fans love the sport. Pure racing, no team orders, no calculations, just riders fighting until the very last meter. Another incredible finish occurred at Mugello in 2019. The atmosphere at Mugello is unlike anywhere else in MotoGP. The Italian fans create a wall of noise that can be heard across the circuit. That year, the home crowd desperately wanted an Italian winner. Instead, they witnessed one of the greatest last-lap battles of the modern era. Marc Marquez and Andrea Dovizioso exchanged positions repeatedly. Neither rider could escape. Neither rider could relax. The final lap became a showcase of bravery. Both riders pushed beyond normal limits. Both riders risked everything. When the checkered flag finally appeared, Marquez crossed the line first by just 0.043 seconds. It was one of the closest finishes of the season. The difference between victory and defeat was almost invisible. Moments like these highlight a unique reality about MotoGP. Unlike many forms of motorsport, riders are constantly exposed. Every movement matters. Every mistake becomes visible. When battles reach the final lap, the pressure becomes almost unimaginable. One small error can erase 40 minutes of perfection. One missed braking point can destroy a race. One moment of hesitation can cost victory. That pressure has created some of the most extraordinary sporting moments ever seen. The greatest last lap finishes are not simply about speed. They are about courage. The courage to brake later than anyone else. The courage to attack when second place feels safe. The courage to risk everything when a championship, a victory or a legacy is on the line. That is why these moments remain unforgettable. Years later, fans still remember where they were when Rossi passed Lorenzo in Barcelona. They still remember Dovizioso defeating Marquez in Austria. They still remember the chaos of Phillip Island. Because these finishes represent MotoGP at its absolute best. No strategy calculations, no conservative decisions, just world-class riders fighting with everything they have. And perhaps that is why the final lap holds such power. For most of a race, there is still time. Time to recover, time to rethink, time to attack again. On the final lap, none of that exists. Every decision becomes permanent. Every move becomes history. That is why the craziest last lap finishes feel different from anything else in sport. They combine speed, pressure, skill, and bravery into a few unforgettable seconds. And when the checkered flag finally falls, legends are born. Because in MotoGP, the race is never truly over until the very last corner. In MotoGP, one corner can create a legend. Subscribe now for more unforgettable racing moments and tell us your favorite last lap battle in the comments.